topic that I have to discuss because, believe it or not, I'm starting to get a little bit excited about this fight. I'm talking about Claressa Shields against Savannah Marshall. I think this is actually a really good fight. Savannah Marshall, she's a power puncher. I think she's done great work under the tutelage of Peter Fury, Tyson Fury's uncle and former trainer. And that face-to-face on the Eubank undercard, that got my interest peaking, guys. It really did. So I got to ask the question. This isn't about which is the bigger fight, okay? It's about which is the better fight. Is it Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor, or is it Claressa Shields, Savannah Marshall? And I'm going to go to you, Base. You know, you're out there. The fight's going to take place in the UK when it does happen. And I know you're very astute when it comes to the female side of the sport. So what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I've been looking forward to the fight for a while. So, I mean, in terms of which is the better fight, I still think, to be honest, I still think Katie and Serrano, Taylor and Serrano is the better fight, just because I guess there's more years of experience and sort of skills and stuff that can delve into it. I feel like it's a bit more 50-50, especially if you look at accomplishments, whether we want to downplay Serrano's accomplishments because of all the vacant titles or whatnot. She still had like 14 years experience in the game. Katie's had the extensive amateur background, plus obviously like the last 4 or 5 years. I just feel like that as an overall spectacle will be the better fight. However, the thing that intrigues me about the Shields and Marshall fight is this is probably one of the most legit chances we're going to get to see knockouts in the women's game. Like, we always, sometimes when we get them, we're shocked about them, but this one is one where you actually predict that one person could go to sleep, and that one person would end up being Claressa Shields, because unfortunately she just doesn't have the power to get other people out of there.
There you go, Joe. Same question. I put it in the chat for those of you. I want to hear what the chat has to say on this one, because we've heard a lot about Katie Taylor, Serrano. What about Shields versus Marshall? I mean, Marshall was the last woman to beat her inside those 4.
Objection, Your Honor. Leading the witness.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay. Why do I have to choose here? Why can't I like both of them?
You got
why are you always like? It always has to be one's got to be better than the other. Why can't I like both?
So it's
one.
What do I like better? What do I like better? Prime rib or filet mignon? Why do I got to pick?
So you're saying
you got to pick.
Why do I got to pick? Why can't they both be great fights? Why do we have to subtract from one to add to the other?
How about subtracting?
Right? Why?
Pick one. Got to pick.
Because I think that's wrong. But I love both fights, but I like the Serrano Taylor fight better. But the Shields Marshall fight's a close second. But I don't like that. I don't like this topic.
Fair enough. You don't have to like it.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Let me tell you something. What do you think this is, Joe? Like peanut butter and jelly? Like you just have both?
That's not
how it works. That's not how it works.
That's not how we promote the sport of women's boxing, by trying to down one fight. Put one fight below the other. Why do we got to put one fight below the other?
Like when you go to a restaurant, you tell the waiter, like, why do I have to pick? Why are these like different selections?
Why do we have to down 2 women?
Uplift
all 4. Base, help me out, Base. Base, help me out. Why can't we uplift all 4?
Nobody's downing it. What do you?
I agree. Don't get me wrong. I like both fights, but ultimately it's like DC and Marvel. I might like both, but there's one that I like more than the other, and that's the same with this.
Now check it out, guys. I don't use my time. I don't use my time. It's my turn. That's right. The thing. I don't use my time. I do not yield my time, ladies and gentlemen. Now, with that said,
I'll take it from you.
Okay. This guy goes to the restaurant, right? He looks at the menu, and then he's like, "Why are you making me pick between New York
combination plates when I go out? I get surf and turf. I get surf and turf. I don't get one.
You're not going to be forced to pick one. Like which was better? And now you can only watch one, and that's it.
I take 2 girls out at once sometimes because I can't choose. That's how I roll.
But with that said,
go for it, D-Style, please.
Better be, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. But with that said, the better fight, Serrano and Katie Taylor. It's the better fight. Why? Because one, Serrano is the most accomplished fighter currently in women's boxing. You know what? Like she has 6, 7, whatever, 8, division champion. They were kind of cherry picked a little bit, but still, it's still a hell of an accomplishment. And she's been pro for a long time, and we also know she's good, has a good kill ratio. And then Katie Taylor, I mean, very accomplished in the amateur level. Gold medalist, and then she's undisputed. It's for undisputed at the weight class, and she's a reigning champion. It's a big fight. It's number 1, number 2, pound for pound in many people's eyes, although Clarissa Shields, you could argue her there, but nonetheless, right? Savannah Marshall is unproven. Savannah Marshall, in my opinion, could I think her having some belts would help a little bit, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Okay. But it's still a great fight. I like the fight, but I'm going to go with Serrano because I'm going to look at the menu. I'm going to say, waiter, I want Serrano versus Taylor. I'm not going to scold the waiter because, there's also the other fight on the menu. Okay, babe?
Surf and turf.
Kenny, before I go to you, okay, D-Style was way off on the whole Bill Haney versus Teofimo Sr. thing. Joe, you're way off on this one. I'm sorry. Nobody's downplaying either of these fights. I'm looking forward to both of these fights. If I could, I'd attend both of these fights live. Unfortunately, one's happening in the UK. Fortunately for Base the Kid. All right. Fortunately for me, Serrano Taylor's happening over here. I bring this up because I honestly don't think that Shields versus Marshall is getting much publicity and much play for how good of a fight it is.
You're not helping out either. By trying to make people pick one or the other. You're not helping out.
I'm helping out right now.
To be fair, it hasn't been signed yet. Remember, Marshall still got a fight on Femke Hermans on the 12th of March, so it's not like the fight has been signed yet.
We know she's winning that fight, number 1.
Tell him, Base.
And they've been talking about Katie Taylor versus Serrano for well before that.
You're feeling a little guilty, Maestro. Like you're
feeling guilty now.
Right now.
Now you're feeling guilty because you're
right now. Someone's explaining to Beeb at this time. You know what I mean?
I'm making you second guess yourself. I'm making you second guess yourself
to Beeb because he could have picked one fight.
I'm dropping my opinion on this right now. My opinion on this is simple.
You feel guilty.
When I saw Savannah Marshall look at Clarissa Shields dead in the face and tell her, if you fight me the way that you just fought that little kid, I'm going to wipe the floor with you. I was like, damn. Look,
I mean, it wasn't exactly clever language, Rocky, but I see what you're saying.
Let me ask you a quick question, Maestro.
What that happened after that? Man, let me tell you something. I'm looking forward to this fight, even though I can't go to it. If it happens, I hope it happens.
You're not. You're not looking forward more than Amanda Serrano Taylor.
Well, let me ask you this question, Maestro.
I think that this fight.
You gotta let me ask you this question.
End in knockout, and that the other one does not. I don't.
Cap of the year.
So if you were interviewing Savannah Marshall,
knows your cap.
What up, D-Star? If you were interviewing Savannah Marshall right now, right? Yeah. Would one of the questions be, what fight is better? Your fight or Katie Taylor's? Would you ask her that?
Because I know the answer. She'd tell me that her fight's better, and I'd expect her to say that. Look. I like going into fights thinking that there is a potential for a knockout. As exciting as the Katie Taylor-Serrano fight is, I'm not going into that fight thinking that there's a potential for a knockout. I'm going into the fight thinking that it's going to be a stylistic matchup that's going to go to distance.
You like the Shields fight better then? The Shields fight better.
Bro, I legit feel that Savannah Marshall being the last person to beat Clarissa Shields, who's been knocking out opponents, something that a lot of female fighters have not been doing recently. Yeah, I think that has the potential to be fireworks.
Is that the better fight? Is that the better fight?
She's going to be going for the knockout. I'm not saying it's better. I'm looking forward to it.
And Nando says I'm filibustering, right? I'm filibustering. Nando, I'm the one filibustering.
Let me go to Kenny. I think it's better. I just said it.
Hold on, Kenny. Sorry, just before you go, just a caveat to what you said there. Clarissa Shields already admitted that Taylor Serrano is the bigger and the actual better fight because there's a lot more accomplishments on the line. Just want to put that out there.
Fight. She said bigger fight.
Come on.
She meant
same
bigger.
Thing to her. Same because of accomplishment. She said it was the same thing because she doesn't rate Marshall.
I'm looking at it from a fan's perspective, sitting home watching it on TV. There could be a knockout in this fight. Kenny, go for it. What are your thoughts?
Ahead,
Let's get Kenny's thoughts.
I'm gonna go with the better fight being Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano. Specifically because, you know, Amanda Serrano is gonna come in there with fighter. Katie Taylor with fire, excuse me. I stuttered that. Katie Taylor is gonna go in there with her boxing ability. We've never really seen Katie Taylor get hit like that. We know what Amanda Serrano does. She comes forward like a tank, bulldozing, trying to break every bone in her opponent's body. You know, I do think Katie Taylor is going to get hit, regardless of whether people think of it or not. She does have the superior boxer ability, but she's going to get hit harder than we've ever seen her get hit. And I want to see the test. There's a lot more on that line than there is on the Claressa Shields, Savannah Marshall line. And I'm just more excited for this. It's in my hometown. I could go see it. You know, I'm just more excited for it.
Delphine Pursuit probably hits about as hard as Amanda Serrano, to be fair. And she comes forward a lot more aggressively. Katie's going to have time to move in this fight.
I got to get to the super chat real quick. Hold on. We got a super chat from Remy. Love it when D and Joe go at it. What up, Kenny T?
I don't like it because I make them look bad. You know what I mean? It's not my intention, but
it's like, it's like a big brother schooling a little brother. That's
so check it out. Have you ever seen like the little brother beats up the big brother, and everybody's like, "Why'd you do that to your brother?"
That never happens.
Like, you know what I mean? Like people think I'm Kane. People think I'm Kane and he's able, and I'm like, what did I do? But here's what I'll say, right? Like, here's what I'll say, okay? I like how like one fight's obviously way better, but like Maestro was totally sold because Savannah looked at her right in the eye and said, if you fight that girl the way you fought her, I'm going to wipe the floor. Like that did it for you, like for real. That's all it took.
So I'll be lying if I told you that there have been fights that I was not that excited about it, and I saw a press conference and I got excited for it, or I saw it 24/7.
But it makes it better.
McGregor.
That makes it better than Serrano Taylor.
This is the same thing. There are moments that happen in the lead up to a fight that gets you excited of a fight that before you're like, oh yeah, that's interesting. And then something happens, you're like, yeah, you know what? This is going to be a good fight. And then you start thinking, yeah, this is why it's going to be a good fight.
That's all it takes.
No, sometimes when it's from someone who is the last person to beat that person.
What if she rolled her eyes behind like the back of her head and did like the Undertaker, like you will rest in peace if you fight me? Like, would that sell it for you? Would that make it better?
Let me put it to you this way: since apparently your level right now is at 1 to 10 on the understanding of logical thought at the moment. So if you had
I'm at a 10, brother.
If you had a 100 to 1 underdog,
I'm a 10 like a model next to Fat Joe right now.
If you had a 100 to 1 underdog, D-style do that, of course there's going to be no interest. But if you have someone who's in a competitive fight, who's a knockout puncher,
where's Marshall beat?
Who is the last person to beat? Who is Marshall beat? She beat Claressa Shields.
Like when Claressa was like 15 years old.
It wasn't.
Stop.
She beat Claressa Shields.
Come on.
I mean, if you want to go down the list of who beat in women's boxing, like
I get it.
You're going to be hearing a lot of crickets in a lot of divisions.
All I'm saying is that it's once obviously a better fight, but because one cut a WWE promo, now it's better.
WWE promos typically aren't very good, to be honest with you, but or haven't been since The Rock was around.
That's what he likes. Why can't he like that, D-Star? Why are you telling him what to like?
Hey, that's not right. He told you to pick something.
What he can like.
He told you to pick.
Anyway, speaking of what people